Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 156. Here we are on the 8th of
July.
What is it? July already. We're out of June. It's July 8th, 2020. And man, I don't know about you guys. We'll find out in a moment, but it is hot up here in southern Ontario. Joining us, as always, Mr. Casey Green from the Washington, D.C. area. How are you today, sir?
Doing quite well. How are y'all doing?
Very good, very good. Well, let's talk a little weather. Is it hot in D.C.?
At least 90 degrees.
At least 90 degrees. Okay. Yeah, that's hot. That's definitely hot. Mr. Patrick Connor joins us from Oregon. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, and it's like a beautiful 80 degrees here.
Oh,
yeah, I'm not hot like you guys.
It is hot and humid. I think today we were going to be close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit if you factored in the humidex, which is what Canadians use to measure how dense the air is, really, how much moisture is in the air. So it's been hot and sticky for a solid week, and we've got a couple more days still left. So everyone's just kind of bunkering in their homes with the air conditioning running at full tilt.
Wow. Well, speaking of being at full tilt, that's what we're going to be today on our ludicrous ride into a future that is free from fossil fuels. So buckle up.
I feel I need a seatbelt after that one. Absolutely.
Tell you what, I was using some ludicrous to get here on time.
That's right. That's right. We were prompting where Casey was, and he was burning up the roadways, trying to get back to the home studio.
Burning up a few kilowatt hours.
That's right.
Leaving quad tire tracks all the way up to the speed limit.
Well, we got a ton of news, as not surprising in the world of Tesla. Every week there seems to be another batch of information to discuss and see about. This week is no different. The first story we've got is about Tesla, of course, exceeding its delivery expectations. They released their information just the day after our show last week. And they came out with a bit of a surprise. I was surprised that they had produced the numbers that they did. Apparently, they had delivered over 90,000 electric cars, beating, of course, expectations from Wall Street, which was a much lower 60 to 70,000 was their guess. So 90,650 to be exact, was certainly a surprise to many. And of course, the stock reacted in a positive way as well, based on that surprise. Also, during that quarter, those were deliveries. Now, also during that quarter, they produced 82,000 vehicles in that quarter. And again, if you do not remember, Tesla's factory was shut down for the first five and a half weeks of the quarter.
Both of them.
So yeah, so we had an issue where, of course, they were producing nothing. So man, my question to Patrick and to Casey is Tesla sandbagging? Are they just can they produce 90,000 vehicles in a week and they're just not telling us about this?
I think what happened was they probably went and said, hey, who wants extra shifts? We're broke right now because we were just shut down for 6 weeks. We will give you extra shares per hour if you come and work third and fifth shift.
I don't know. They sure did pull a rabbit out of their hat. Yeah.
Yeah, like how do you operate in half the quarter and still maintain almost the build amount that you did in a regular quarter?
Exactly.
That is, I don't know. That is sandbagging written all over it, as far as I'm concerned.
And still beating whole years that they used to be open in the past.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But
I'm not talking like Roadster days. I'm talking like Model S and Model X together were beat in one quarter.
Yep.
From two half-open factories.
It's shocking that they were able to pull this off. It was, and of course we have not heard about profitability in the quarter. That has not happened.
There have been some hints, though.
There have been some hints. Go ahead, Patrick. Tell us one of the hints that we saw that we were wondering, is that a sign?
Oh yeah, if you want to party like Liberace, you had your chance. It didn't last for very long. To buy some short shorts from the Tesla shop. Red satin short shorts with gold S3XY lettering on the back.
On the bun. I tried to get a pair for my wife, but she wasn't feeling it. And then by the time I explained to her that they were limited edition and got her okay, they were sold out.
They were gone.
Yeah, so we missed the shorts and the flamethrower. Not a flamethrower.
And the surfboard, apparently.
And the surfboard was out of our budget at the time, anyway.
So that's interesting. That is there a reason that the shorts were released just after the quarter ended and before, I guess, the earnings letter has come out? As Patrick and I discussed before the show, it's usually about 4 or 5 weeks after the quarter that the earnings letter comes out.
Right. The other little hint that I don't know if people have picked up on is that Musk has changed his Twitter icon or profile picture to Falcon Heavy launch. So there's a lot of burning going on there, and he has talked about the short burn. So I wonder if that's another little, just him trolling the way he loves to do.
Yeah, definitely. If you're reading in between the lines, it's looking like Musk is laying it on heavy that there might be some positive news in that quarter release.
He's not acting the way he normally does when he takes it in the teeth. So I have a feeling that he may have some good news for us, hopefully.
Yeah. All signs point to positive.
Yeah.
Which, again, would be another rabbit out of the hat as it comes to quarters. And, of course, this is a big quarter. If they were to actually land in positive territory, that could get them into the S&P 500, which would be another boost for Tesla, because that would be the fourth straight quarter of profit, which again would be another first. They've never done 4 straight quarters of profit, so lots of anticipation as to what's coming up in about 4 weeks from now. Yeah. Well, another story that happened this week, indirectly with Canadian flavor to this. There were 3 Teslas stolen off the back of a car carrier in Flint, Michigan last week. The driver of the truck apparently had stopped for an overnight rest at a motel, and the vehicle was parked out front. He got up early in the morning to leave and noticed that the bottom deck of the car carrier was empty, so 3 vehicles were missing. And you may ask, how on earth is someone stealing a Model 3 off the bottom of a car carrier? Well, it's because for whatever reason they kept the keys in the car with the doors unlocked.
So I get the keys inside, but I don't get the doors unlocked for it.
So the little, not the fob, but the credit card that comes with the Model 3 was, I believe, in the cup holders. So it was very close to the area that it needed to be sitting in order for the car to move. It's just above or behind the cup holders is where the actual card has to sit in order to engage the car into drive or reverse. So apparently some thieves had figured that out, noticed that the key cards were there, and just basically lowered the ramps on the back of the truck and were able to navigate those cars off the trailer and took them away. Now, the driver, of course, calling 911 in the morning, where they were able to, of course, use satellite tracking and figure out where the cars were, and showed up at the thieves' home, showed up at an area where it looks like they were trying to fence a car, and eventually they arrested 2 out of the 3, and the third one was being pursued. So they didn't get very far, and you would think if you knew a little bit about Tesla, that would be the last car to steal if you needed to steal a car. I just don't. I wouldn't want satellites tracking where I'm going with the vehicle at all times and reporting back to the owners as to where the car is sitting at any particular time, as well as the history of what the car's been doing. It just does not make sense. So the thieves knowing how to get the car out, away was one thing, but not knowing that these things are tracked, I guess that's why crime doesn't pay.
So a Tesla and a GM that's still on the dealer subscription to OnStar are the two cars you don't want to mess with. but I think if this is a Tesla transport, like Tesla owned, then I think that they're partially to blame for this. Because now if they can come up and unlock my car and service it and lock it back, and the driver is a Tesla employee, why are they even using the cars? The cars should be deactivated.
We don't know if they're Tesla employees, right? This
so
could be a
subcontractor it could be a regular transport
that is transported out for that reason. There may not have been. I did not see that in the story as to whether it was a company transport or not, but that would be my guess.
So then, for their subcontractors, why not dispatch? Hey, these are your 12 cars. You can unlock them with your tablet here, and because they're going for contactless delivery, so when the customer picks it up, the keys are in there, the car is locked, it only responds to the app. I think they could do better here, Tesla.
I agree. And the transport company. So,
assuming that it's a different transport company, you said too. Yeah, but if it's Tesla Transport Inc., then no, they need to do it. But if it's Bob's Trucking, care of Tesla, then okay, fine.
Yep, we'll see if that gets updated. But again, if you're thinking about stealing a car, look elsewhere. Don't steal a Tesla. You're going to get caught very quickly.
That reminds me of the one where the guy had it in a shipping container, and the rental agency noticed that it hadn't been turned in on time, and they took the excuse for a couple of days, and then they're like, "Wait a minute, you missed your return date twice in a row. Where's my backup car?" And,
exactly. Oh, look, it's sitting at a dock.
In the ocean.
Yeah.
In the ocean.
Oh man! So you better be traveling with a ferret cage or something to put that car in if you don't want to be caught.
Yes.
Ferret cage, Faraday cage, whatever. Yeah.
Faraday. My mistake. Yes. Patrick's going, why does he want a rodent cage to put the car in? That makes no sense. Oh my goodness. Of course, another story about Giga Berlin. We had saw last week that construction had started. A number of concrete beams had been set in place. And actually this week there was more information about concrete slabs arriving for the factory and starting to be put into place for the floor of one of the structures. And then what came out was that the plans have changed at Giga Berlin. Tesla has submitted plans updating the build procedure and what's going to happen. And besides adding a few things, like they had indicated that, for example, they've been able to reduce water consumption at the plant. That was part of the change, which is all great and wonderful. They're going to be adding a test track, which makes complete sense to have a test track to test vehicles on if you needed to. But one of the most interesting pieces of information was that they're removing the battery production from the Gigafactory Berlin. So they're not going to be producing batteries on site. Instead, they're going to have to truck them in or by rail or some other way to transport them in. And no explanation was really given as to why that was. And we've got some speculation here at the show as to why maybe that could be. But Patrick, did that seem kind of funny to you?
It sure did. Yeah. So Musk has said that all future gigafactories would have vehicle assembly and battery production. So now, what's going on here? Why aren't they doing battery production? So, did they get a contract with somebody in Germany there? Are they going to build something in another part of Europe? Or there's Mark has my favorite.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking that this could be something to do with the I guess, the approvals of the build process, that Tesla has been experiencing a little bit of a lag. They've been trying to keep it up to a certain level, but they haven't been getting approval in a timely manner in some ways. Maybe they understood that because of the things they would have to do with battery production, there could be a delay in getting approval for that permit to come in. And maybe they thought, if we cut battery right now, we can truck them in to start, and then over time we will add battery back into it, and it'll be an easier process where it won't slow us down on the actual construction of the factory overall. That's just speculation, but the puzzle kind of fits togetger in that way. Casey, did you have any comment on that?
I was thinking along those lines, but then also, did they rescind their plans for the battery building or batteries period? Because remember, Fremont's running a pilot plant up in the attic,
right?
And then the other part of that is, what if after Battery Day we find that they have to rearrange their battery plants, and the original Giga is only a third complete, and the Chinese Giga battery plant isn't complete yet, so perhaps they're going to rearrange things.
Right. And maybe this would have tipped their hand before they're ready to. And so they said, okay, fine, let's just get permits for the stuff we need for assembly, and we'll do a phase 2 later. And then when after Battery Day and it's announced, we don't have to worry about this being a leak.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because those plans, they show a lot of stuff.
Yeah. That's a possibility. So we'll have to keep our eye on that and see if anything else comes to light as the construction continues. One other item inside this this update to the plans was an item that referred to the amount of cars made in a year. Apparently, at the beginning, when it was first submitted, they said 500,000, up to 500,000. And the plans were revised to indicate that it would be over 100,000. So they brought the number down, but they had said previously it would be up to a certain maximum. Now they're saying, here's the minimum, and it's going to be over that. But they're not saying how high it was. So the wording changed inside the planning information, that instead of saying it'll be at a maximum of 500,000, now it says it's going to be over 100,000. So not really sure why the wording would have to be changed in a plan document anyways, unless, of course, again, it has something to do with approvals, or something maybe causes, maybe it's triggered after a certain number of cars, that there's a, maybe a subsection of the document comes into play or doesn't come into play if it's not mentioned. So this could be, the devil's in the details. We're not really sure why it is. I'm just pointing out that these were changes.
And they're definitely up to something, because they've reduced their water consumption by 33%. They want to increase the cutting of their tree farm by 30%, and the drive units aren't going to be made in the same building anymore.
Yep, it is. Sounds a little
exciting.
Bit strange. So. But in the world of Tesla, there's never a dull moment. So we'll definitely hear some more about this. I am positive about that. Yeah. What about the rave location? Hopefully that wasn't touched in the plan altercation. That the downtown Berlin rave underneath the factory will still be intact. We will see. Next, Casey's got a story about the CyberTruck apparently moving across the country.
Yeah, so Michael Hodges had tweeted at Elon that we need to bring the CyberTruck over the East Coast so we can take a look. And Elon said, he said more than just yes, like he normally does. He says, sure, we'll aim to do a cross-country drive with CyberTruck later this year. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so that could be, that hopefully will be multi-city stops along the way.
So, I hope so. Don't just stick it in one museum and then leave. Come back.
Exactly. And this was, of course, brought up because of the Peterson Museum. The vehicle was there for a week, and unbeknownst to me, the next day after our show, it was announced that it was going to continue its stay for an additional week. So the car actually was there for two full weeks instead of the 1 week that we had reported. So so lots of people in LA getting the ability to see it. And of course, there's some great videos of people that went to the museum early and actually filmed every square inch of the vehicle, zooming in on cracks and splices of the metal and bumps. And like there's a lot of detail now of that truck. If you have interest, you can now find it on YouTube in many different places.
Yeah, some of it was a little too far, considering that it's a hand-built, not even pre-production prototype. It's a hand-built concept, basically.
Yeah.
But some interesting details did come out. We did confirm the front camera and the front bumper, in addition to the regular front camera triplet that we already have. And there's a pair of rear view cameras next to the license plate instead of just one.
A pair? Okay.
Yeah. So
what's the speculation on having a pair of cameras?
For a trailer.
For a trailer, maybe, but it's right on both sides of the license plate, so a trailer would probably still block it. But some of the speculation that I found interesting was that one is for the rear view mirror and the other is for autopilot, or they're redundant, so that if you get splash on it like you currently do with the one camera, it can just switch to the one that's not obscured.
Okay.
And then also it would give you stereo to the rear, not just from the side marker cameras, because you get a whole blind spot the width of the vehicle in between those two stereo cameras. And then if you have two back there, then you've got plenty of overlap on all sides of the vehicle.
Or could it possibly be that new technology that another truck manufacturer has done, that it makes the trailer look invisible?
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So that might be something to do. Again, not sure. I'm just guessing at that, but that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really hope that they have some accessory where you can stick a camera on the back of your trailer and have that view show up in the rear view mirror. Yeah. That would be really a nice feature for them to have for something like this, where towing is going to be a big part of its use case.
It would also be really cool if Model Y with tow package, Model X, and CyberTruck would auto steer while on the freeway while towing. Because I tell you what, after being spoiled by full self-drive and then towing something and only getting cruise control with traffic-aware cruise control, it is
first world problems, Casey. First world problems.
Yeah, but when you're a road warrior like me, you take 8-10 hour trips. It adds back a lot of stress that you have had removed because there's a lot of cycles wasted on keeping the car in between the lanes rather than making sure it stays on its own in between the lanes.
Right. I could understand if they took out features like automatic lane changing.
I'd be great with that.
Right. That makes sense. It's not It's not going to be trained while doing that stuff while pulling a trailer. But just staying in the lane and going straight, come on, they could do that.
I mean, even if they put a warning, hey, if you loaded this thing incorrectly, that's on you. And if we take this curve on the highway and screw stuff up, well, you should have turned it off, or not turned on cruise control, or not turned on auto steer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need it for the semi.
Yeah, that's very true.
Why not train it with us?
May as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot less damage.
One thing I would ask Tesla to do when they plan on doing this trip with the Cybertruck across the country. Build two more by hand. Send 3 at once. Don't just send one. Send 3 of them.
Have one for test drives. One.
Exactly. Yeah, so that more people at a stop could get a look of it, a close look of it. Maybe one's a static display and a couple are doing test drives.
They do have a static display. Bring that with you.
Yeah, exactly.
That way they don't have to tip their hands.
And of course. I don't know how I'm going to get to see it if it's just in the U.S. The border's closed. I can't even cross to go take a look. Hopefully,
was ours closed or yours
things
closed?
are cooled down COVID-wise by that point. That would be nice.
Yeah. So. A tour like this is that's the first way that I saw the Model S. Was they took their Alpha prototype in piano red, and it was touring. And it was at the Museum of Motion in Portland. And I went and saw it, and it was just like, wow, this is gorgeous. And then it was, an alpha, and I was like, wait, alpha. Car companies don't do alpha. The technology companies do alphas. And so I had a nice conversation with the Tesla rep there about how Tesla does things and how it's not like a normal car company. And then I was like, oh, these smooth door handles, this is just a prototype, right? So a concept car, you always see cool stuff like this on concept cars. That'll never go into production. And he was like, no, that's production plan. And I was like, really? We'll see. And sure enough, they did it. And yeah, the door handles,
same thing.
Did have some problems, but still, it was cool to see that they stuck by what their prototype or their alpha version and what their production were very, very similar. It's not like these concept cars you see at car shows where they have all of these crazy features that will never, ever go into production.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. There's many a time you've seen a concept car and, man, half of it didn't even show up in the production.
Sometimes 100% of it doesn't show up.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, but the handles, they came back. Hopefully they're better this time.
Yeah, hopefully they're better. Absolutely. Next story is a little bit of a profile picture, a comparison picture of the Tesla Semi and some other transport trucks. Here we go. So this is a little bit of an unfair photo, first of all, to say this right up front. These are car carrier transport trucks on either side of the Tesla Semi, and they are designed purposely to be lower because, of course, their purpose is to haul cars, and if you can put an extra car on a trailer and make it 9 instead of 8, their transport companies are going to do that because, of course, they get paid more to move more product at once. So these two trucks are a little bit squatty because a car goes above them as part of their operation. So, but what is interesting to see, of course, is the small windshields on both vehicles on the outside, and of course the Tesla Semi with its center seating seat looking out a humongous window. It looks like in comparison, but again, a little bit of an unfair, I guess, comparison, but still interesting to see.
The Tesla is also rocking a car carrier trailer, just not one on the cab.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see the ones on the opposite side that you can actually see the decking above them, where the 9th car would sit in and the Tesla, of course, can only carry a maximum of 8 cars.
Yeah, and then I think that if these are Tesla-owned trucks on the left and the right, I think we could probably see them do something similar once they have more Tesla semis to work with, because we've seen them take the cap off of both this low rise and the high rise prototypes in the past.
I think they're not going to be able to do it just based on the size of the windshield. Like the windshield on the Semi is much higher, and of course there's a maximum height with the car on top of you, so you don't clip one on a bridge. So you definitely have to abide by a specific height that they can only handle, and without modification heavily of the front of that Tesla Semi, I don't think it's going to fit a 9th car.
Roadster only, or
drop
that air suspension all the way down.
Yeah.
I like your point. The good news is we got 9 cars on. The bad news is you got to run with no air in your tires for the whole run.
No, it's got just like the Model S and X, where it's got the air suspension, but much more beefy.
Yeah, but Mark's got a good point. You could get a couple extra inches if you take the air out of the tires. But I like your point about the glass. So on a Semi, if you catch a rock and you break your windshield, that's time you have to go and get the vehicle fixed, and then that's time it's not on the road making you money. So over time, the solution to that has been to make the window as small as possible so it's less likely to catch a rock. Well, Tesla's went the other way and said, let's just re-engineer the glass. And very different tactic, a very different strategy. And if you started with this, 40 years ago, when we didn't have all the advanced glass technology that we have today, that probably made sense. But there's better options today, and the Tesla truck, if it gives more visibility, then that's one less thing you run into, or a person that you don't hit, or a pedestrian that's in front of you and you can see. This is all good stuff.
Yeah. So the Volvo appears to have the rat rod treatment, but the Kenworth or Peterbilt there, that looks normal to me. Is that?
It's still a little bit squatty. Yep.
Well, the height, yeah, but the windshield looks normal to me. Is that?
The windshield is. You might be right. I'm not sure.
I wonder where they got rid of the height in that truck, and it is taller than the Volvo too, but not by much.
Not by much. Yeah. So,
no
and of
SUV,
course, the lower the truck is to the ground, the less wind resistance too. So there's another bonus of not putting it higher, even to the max height that could go underneath the bridge. It's more advantageous to have it lower to the ground in all cases.
So the Volvo could have been factory built that way then, because it is much newer than the Peterbilt or.
Yeah, I have a feeling that some of these are definitely factory built for these cases. These are car carrier trucks that have been designed for that exact operation. So, our next story is about a big effing field in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which of course was the Tulsa's website that had asked Elon to consider the big effing field that they had available to build a factory on. Elon decided to fly out to Tulsa and have a look around, and they actually took him out to the site, set up a tent, provided a few refreshments, and they had an afternoon conversation about how Tesla would be quite happy in Tulsa, or just outside of Tulsa, in the land that they have available. And of course, I would have loved to be a fly on the tent for this conversation. There would have been a ton of interesting information about what Tesla's key wants are, what Tulsa has to offer. I'm sure discussions about employees and how what the employee pool looks like in the local area, or within 60 or 100 miles actually is. And it would have been very interesting to hear what has been said. Now, also, of course, this also will maybe delay the announcement as to where this is going to be built. Maybe this puts Texas on a little bit of a, oh my gosh, he is looking elsewhere. Is there that kind of tit for tat to see if we can get maybe a bidding war going on for this factory, which I'm sure Tesla is just itching to get started, especially with all those CyberTruck orders laying in wait. But it was interesting to see that Tesla went out and actually reviewed the Tulsa submission.
Well, I mean, the website inviting you out was inviting Musk out. It was written for everybody to see, but like if you clicked "I'm Musk," it's like, no, you're not. Go get Musk.
Oh, that's funny.
If you're not Musk but you know Musk, send him here, please. But it seems to me that Tulsa is actually doing more, at least more visible, to command the attention of Tesla than Austin is, and it looks like they want it. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard they gave him a list of thousands of people that would be willing to move there and work for Tesla.
Excellent.
Yeah. So Texas tried to get Gigafactory. Okay, yeah, Texas tried to get Gigafactory 1, and they lost to Nevada. So Tulsa might not win this round, but establishing this rapport might give them a shot at the next round.
For sure. I mean, he's going to need more factories.
Exactly.
And Texas really needs to make it legal to sell and properly service the vehicles there.
Yes.
Not properly, but like without all the rigmarole loophole bullcrap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not working on your car. Tesla Repair Inc. is working on your car.
Exactly.
You got to call California and ask them to set up an appointment.
one of our eagle-eyed Twitter followers at the Tesla Life, if you're not following us already, Tesla Evangelist YT, did a blow up of the photo we just showed, and sure enough, there is a Cybertruck sitting on the table that's circled here in red, as well as a bottle of clear liquid with the letter T on it. I don't think it's tequila, but it certainly looks that way. So it looks like Tulsa had done their homework and had many memes available if someone wanted to use them. That they were at the disposal of Elon when he arrived.
That's cool. Wonder if that was done by the same people that made up the website.
I bet it was because that website was hilarious. Well, the next story we've got is about Tesla Energy. We've been talking about this for a while, about how Tesla has applied and actually obtained the ability to be an electrical wholesaler in the UK and now in Europe. Well, Tesla, with the help of a utility, is now building a new MegaPack, which is under construction in the UK. And this particular MegaPack, of course, will be coupled with AutoBidder. And, of course, the thought is of buying energy low and selling it high through the different peaks of the day that the UK, especially in the past 6 or 8 months, has really had a bit of a roller coaster ride with pricing. And with AutoBidder being able to buy and sell within tenths of seconds, this could be a real windfall, or it certainly could be their test case to see if they were to build something bigger, if it would be profitable for those involved. This particular new installation going into the UK was at 15 megawatt hours. So it is it's an interesting development, but more on what we believe AutoBidder is going to be used for, more as to why Tesla is setting themselves up as an energy company in many countries. Again, European Union and the UK, and already, well, maybe not already in Australia. I know that they went in with a partner in Australia, so maybe it's the partner that owns the energy distribution rights there. But definitely the UK, definitely Europe. So this is going to be interesting to see if this type of thing is going to follow through for other countries, and if it will come to the shores of North America, will be interesting to see as well.
So there are some utilities, or not utilities, but jurisdictions here in the States where if they aren't the power company, they aren't allowed to sell in kilowatt hours. I wonder if this could have something to do with that over there. Perhaps.
Maybe. That's a possibility.
So getting registered as a utility means that you can now sell in kilowatt hours instead of minutes.
Right. Yeah, that would allow them to participate in that wholesale market. So here's the thing that's interesting to me is that if we want to get to high levels of renewable energy, you have to have energy storage. And that has just been viewed as, oh man, batteries are super expensive, and that's a really big cost. Well, now we're starting to see that when you have this on your grid and you have energy storage, it doesn't have to be just for renewables. You have, it can take the place of peaker plants. Those are very expensive to operate. They have the highest levels of pollution because they have to be on demand. They're not already spun up and going. So they tend to be some of your dirtiest electricity on the grid, and it's replacing that. And these batteries are actually making money. They're paying for themselves within a year, and after that, making profits for the companies. So now what used to be this, oh, it's really expensive to do renewables because you have to have batteries, the whole equation is flipped. So this is a really cool opportunity that might really help accelerate us into a future free from fossil fuels. My tagline. Right,
you were going to work that in regardless, weren't you? Oh, that's great. Yeah, so it's again, this is more of the puzzle pieces coming into play. We've been seeing this build up now for at least 6 months, and then before that, we saw the beginning with Australia getting that large battery pack, and that was really the start of it, where it got a spotlight shone on it. That, my goodness, this could actually save us money and save the grid all in the same time. So I look forward to more of these installations going into place based on the success that we've seen so far. And if the previous information is any, I guess any, if that's foreseeing the future, then we're going to see a ton more of these installations going in place everywhere.
Yep.
Next, another police blotter story that Patrick has got for us.
Yes. So this is interesting. Somebody tried to set a house on fire, and this was in Sandfjord, and it was the mayor's house. So this was in Oslo, in Norway, and South Oslo. So the police in that area are now asking if you were parked anywhere near there and you happen to have a Tesla, and your car might have captured some footage of this person attempting to burn down the mayor's house, and potentially they say he's being charged with attempted murder, which if you're trying to burn someone's house down, yeah, you certainly could kill them. And so let's have, as a Tesla community, help catch this guy. And there's a lot of Teslas in Norway. They've been very popular vehicles in that region. So it's quite possible that some footage was captured for this. And just like we talked about earlier, if you're going to steal a car, don't take a Tesla. They're connected. They have cameras. They're online. Also, if you're going to commit a crime, don't do it where there's a Tesla, because you might get recorded. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully we end up with a safer world because of this.
Exactly.
So when I first saw this story, it came to my attention that yes, a great number of vehicles in North America and have their cameras activated, but there was an argument between a bunch of Europeans on the article that I saw, and they weren't sure if they were allowed to record or not, and it would be a good campaign for them to clarify, because my understanding is, as long as it's not recording all the time, which it's not, because if you pull your storage and look, you've only got events. And then obviously they can't share with the public. They can only share with their conservatory. So, the police or their lawyer. But that would be a great deterrent right there, if you assume that every Tesla you walk by is equivalent of a storefront where anything you do is on recording. So
I got to believe that is getting out into the criminal element out there, that people are starting to clue into. Hey, Bob just got caught because he tried to lift a Tesla, and it recorded him, or it tracked him by satellite, or the police showed up at his house the next day. I gotta believe that some of this is filtering down to the criminal element, and hopefully that will result in less crime happening to or around Teslas, because you're right, it becomes a focal point that thieves don't want to be, they don't want the bright light shone on them. They have they want to be in the shadows. They don't want to be caught. They don't want to be recorded. So hopefully that will stem some criminal activity away from Tesla owners and the cars where they sit.
Right, but Casey does bring up a good point about privacy. I mean, these cars are out in public, so it's not like you're recording in someone's house. But yeah, you do have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, but I mean, anything you do in public is subject to somebody in public seeing it. Exactly. And one thing they're going to have to realize is that you've got multiple wide-angle cameras on an internet-connected device with multiple sets of local storage watching you. So don't do anything stupid. And then like the police department here has found out that there are a lot of them out there, so you could get different angles. And somebody had actually suggested this to Elon, that they form a mesh network and they share footage with each other when they were parked close together.
Interesting. Yeah.
So when an alert goes on, 3 others are notified to turn their cameras and point them over here.
And they do. And then everybody's got a copy of the event from their angle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very cool.
Yeah.
Our last story of the evening is a little report on the Chinese market. In the month of June, Tesla captured, get this, 23% of all EV sales across the country. And of course, China is the largest seller of EVs in the world. And Tesla grabbed that 23% through the month of June, when, of course, they needed it the most, which we talked about for Q2 earnings. They needed China to come up big after its factory was shut down for a few weeks, and was, of course, helping the company as Fremont remained mothballed for a longer period of time. So good to see. Also, that same amount, that 23%, that is basically a 35% increase from the month previous. So quite a jump in the number of actual cars that Tesla sold in China in the month of June. So again, I can hardly wait to get that earnings letter to see what has happened overall in Q2, regardless of what happens, whether it's positive or whether they didn't quite make it. I think this was a huge victory for Tesla for Q2, regardless of what happens as to whether they make the bar or just fall below it. Because so many other car companies have been seeing red for a great amount of time. And for Q2, it's going to be a bloodbath for legacy car makers. Those numbers are about to be released as well. And there are many of them that are worrying about the bottom line because the purchasing has not been steady through the pandemic, as we all know. But it seems that EVs have fared a lot, well, certain EVs have fared a lot better than the old gasoline cars.
So do you think they might have just done a better job of recovering, or that they would have done this had everybody stayed open? And as you mentioned, were there any automakers open anywhere in the world throughout this situation? I think everyone shut down for at least a week, right?
I think everyone shut down for some period of time. Some certainly smaller than others.
Oh yeah,
like China did shut down, I believe, the least. But others shut down in Europe. Others shut. Yeah. Obviously, North America we're aware of. But there was a bounce back in EVs. Again, we don't have the numbers yet. We're waiting for second quarter to come out across the board. But there have been rumblings that the traditional automakers are not looking forward to Q2 publishing results.
Yeah, I think Tesla was a little more immune to this because they tend to have higher end vehicles, and so there was certainly a huge spike in unemployment, but a lot of that was not people who were buying Teslas. And then in China has more millionaires than any other country in the world right now. So and Tesla is a luxury aspirational brand in China, so that certainly helped them there. And whenever there's a crisis like this, that's when it rocks people out of the status quo, and so they start thinking about maybe we should do things in a different, better way, and that accelerates things that are disruptive technologies like EVs are right now.
Yeah, I spoke with a couple people who were on the edge, like they very miserly people, and not that that's a bad thing. And they were looking at getting old used cars because hey, I can just change them out like roller skates. And then they're like, oh, I don't have to interact with anybody. I can wake up every day with the range I need in the battery. I don't have to go touch stuff when I'm out. And that just pushed them over the edge, combined with the lack of maintenance, because when you're used to running old cars all the time, you're constantly fixing stuff. And so they're like, hey, let me get a used Model S or a used Model 3. And it costs a little bit more, but the benefits were there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you're paying less than $1 a gallon equivalent, and
Mhm.
you don't have the hassle of driving anywhere to fill it up. Just do it in your garage.
Yep. Do it while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, with that, if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up in this video. Also, if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? It's free already. And we're not sending you a check. So you may as well just click the subscribe now and help us out. That would be really appreciated. And with that, some closing comments. Mr. Patrick, what have you got for us?
Sure. I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. And we are now doing our meetings online through Zoom, and we have one tomorrow night. So if you're interested, you can check us out there. And we're on Facebook and Twitter. And also, I occasionally blog at carswithcords.net. Thanks.
Very good. Very good. Mr. Casey Green, what have you got for us on closing notes?
Well, I had a smattering of videos for the last week. Tesla put out 2 more software updates, and I got them both on film. And this morning they released another, but it doesn't look like that one's going very wide. And they even had one for non-full self-drive cars. But again, that was included in my updates. So you can check them out at youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN. And on the last one, I got pulled over by the cops. And that ruined my testing because I was out of the headspace. But towards the end, when my neighbors were setting off fireworks, and I had managed to find a parking space, and the last test I was missing was a smart summon. And I was like,
And you squeezed that one inside your parking spot. Very good.
Sure did.
Very good.
Sure did.
All right. Well, with that, we want to thank you, the audience, for watching us and listening to us this week. Tune in next week, and we'll find out together what's going on in the Tesla life.
Thank you, Lee Moon.
Have a great week, everyone.